Okay, let's see if I can make this as complicated as I can. No, but really, I get the fill section of all this. It's so far not bad. Go right here. It's all sewn in back to you, so that's the back of it. Most people are interested in that for some reason. But anyways, at this point, before you start doing all the prep work for everything else and cutting everything out, check your beadwork, feel it, go around the edges. We make sure it's flat, it's not bumpy. There's no like high spots, low spots in your beadwork, because once you cut it and everything else and do the next part, there's be really no way to tack it down. So just go through, kind of move it around, and mess with it, and make sure your beads are flat. Once they are, you can tack your thread in place. Normally, I go between underneath a few tacks I did, and run my needle through the hoop or the loop that's there before I pull it tight. So pull it, go through the loop, and pull tight. Go through, and go through the loop, pull tight. And then once I'm done, I'll cut it off. Depending on where you're at here, some people will do cut it long and where are you at? I can't see it. There you are. Some people do leave it long and they use lighter and burn it off and get it flat. I just do mine extra long just in case I have to do that. But anyways, I get to this point here, and then I can go through and trim the piece to size. Oh, trim the piece to size. Lucky this template I did leave along a bit, so that outer ring there, that would be my trim line I can use as a guide. So I do cut, as you can see, on the line, just move ever so slightly. So when I'm cutting, I'll hold a piece with my two hands and I put my finger against the ear and I use that to pivot around as I'm cutting. So you see, my finger is touching it there. And it helps me to pull the piece or push the piece closer to the scissor. It gives me a nice place to pivot the piece and roll it forward if I need to. I'm slowly working this. I don't rush this part because there's really no need to rush it. So once I get done with that, it's trimmed and it's a nice perfect circle ish. Not really perfect, but good enough for me. So from here, I got to do all the back work for the earring, which is a bit of a process. Boom. So I just zoom in for this part of it because this is pretty crazy. So the pieces that I'm going to use as a fingernail post, I did get this from Etsy. I'll leave a link in the bio for it. Or if you're just looking on Google, just Google fingernail post, and it'll bring up the different kinds of fingernail posts in gold finish, in silver, and I think one in bronze black. So here it is. You do have like the bronze and black, they call it, and the silver and gold. So depending on what you want to use or the style you're gonna go with, you can use several different kinds. But for me, I normally go with gold, and they do come apart, which I do recommend. So how it comes apart is you squeeze. So you see that you squeeze it so it springs in place, and you can squeeze it back in place. So from the side, if I squeeze it, you can. So squeeze and twist, and it comes off. It comes off like that. Then you do the same thing. Oops. You put it in there, you give it a little squeeze, and it moves back in place. So I do that, pull apart. That's why these are disassembled there. I get those already. There's 4 of them there because I'm making 2 pairs of earrings. So 2 sets, 2 sets. These I just push off to the side and put somewhere where I won't lose them. I have lost a few of them before. And this is, says USA on it, but it's actually a, what do you call it? A for sale sign. So this was a big for sale sign. See, for sale. So I get these from a hardware store, Ace, Home Depot, wherever they sell them. It's a thin piece of plastic. It's not cardboard. Some people use cardboard. I mean, you can use whatever you want. Cereal boxes, anything to help stabilize your piece. But I use a piece of plastic in case it gets wet and it holds up and it's sturdy. And I do have my template here. The circle template I got from Michaels. So it's an artist loft kind of thing. The stencil, let's call it. So I go through and I measure out this thing. So this is, the bead area is 2 inches. But when it's done, it's going to be roughly that size. So 2 1/4 to 2 1/2. Fully done. But I need to have it a bit smaller. So 2 1/2 does work. So I need to go a size down, roughly, to 2 1/8 or even 2 3/4. Which this one I think is 2 3/4. Just because I'm beating close to the edge. I want to make sure I have enough space around it so my needle doesn't hit the plastic and bend my needle. So I do leave a little space around it, roughly in a row to a row and a half. So I did do 1 3/4 inches with this, and you can see I set it here, and I did a circle with my pencil. It's a lot easier to do this with pencil instead of a pen because it stays on it better. You can let you do it and make your circle. And from there, you want to go and cut your circle out. I just use a pair of scissors because it works out pretty easy. Use the same method as before. And just doing this. Like that, circle. And with this, the reason why I do cut this part out is when I put it here, I kind of get to the top. I don't want the top part of the metal portion. You see here, I don't want it to be too close to the edge. I want it close, but not for it to be sticking over like so, because you're running your risk of hitting it with your needle. So kind of just go below it like so. And I do put a mark underneath it where the bottom of the post is, fingernail post, and I do put my finger, my pencil mark where the post is coming up. I do put a mark there and the mark at the bottom, as you can see, and I run a mark just straight up with that. So from there to there, I can kind of zoom in, I guess could be better. So I do put a mark at the bottom of it and the top. And then I'll get my X-Acto knife and just do kind of a wide V on it. You don't have to push hard in this, you just gotta do it a few times. So just kind of score it once and do it 2 or 3 times. Just fall in the same area. Then it should just simply just pop off like so. So since I know this is the bottom, I'm gonna go a little further out, dent it roughly about 1/2 inch, no more than that, and go over maybe about a quarter, not quarter, eighth of an inch. Do 2 lines, and I do make an H pattern here or I pattern, whatever you want to do it. Make sure you have a firm grip because you don't want to move it around too much. Then it should just pop through. The reason why I do an H pattern like that is so when I put this here and put that through, it gives a little expansion to push through and pop out. So let me show you again from this side. So when I put it through and push, you see it kind of pops out. So then there's no risk of it coming back out, and it's there. So I do put it in the back of it. Some people do scratch the back of this and glue it to the top, like so. And they'll leave it. It does work if it works for you. But for me, I like to have it in between. So this doesn't go like that. So this piece is kind of sandwiched between the back layer and the beadwork itself. So you don't have that part of it ever kind of popping off or cracking on you. So if it does move, then it's kind of in place where it's at. And if we run your finger across it, it's flat. So you can use that look. Can zoom out a little bit more. So that's it. And once you get your piece cut, then it's easy from there to just make it as a template for your next piece. So that's, see, I just do that, mark it, and it's set. So the one I just did, I'll put here. Like I said, get my pencil, mark it, and I'll cut the piece out. So these two are ready for next stage, and this part here is ready for next stage, which all I do is, like I said, put it through, push through, and they're both set. So I'll grab my two pieces like so. This part where I zoom out and get them ready. So this is the part where I glue them together. The gluing process isn't too bad. So I use E6000 glue for this part of it. You can find the same place where you find a for sale sign, hardware store, Walmart. It does smell if we're not used to it. There is a low odor one, which I do recommend. I have not found yet. The only problem with this a lot of people have is that the glue does dry up hard here. And just keep your tip clean. So all I do is turn around. I move this off to the side here, add glue, run over, and do it on the other side. So then the bottom of this post gets it, go around the top, and I just do a circle around it. Like so, and just kind of work my way in like a half moon. And I do have scrap pieces like this, so I can put my glue on, so if it does drip, it kind of drips off to the side. And then with your piece, you want to make sure that you have a piece on top, and you just want to kind of line it up with how you want to do it. So with me, this is the top, so I'm going to put that like that, and then flip it over. Place on top, flip it over, kind of set everything. And then I look at it from the top side and flip it here. So that one here, I want to line up and just look at it and turn the piece until it lines up like so. See, the post lines up with that center, which lines up all the way down. And that's where I want to have it. Now I'll press it, and I'll leave it flat. And that one's set. Next one, so you see here the glue did ooze out. It doesn't ooze out my stuff. I can just wipe it off and then go to the next one. Try to put glue underneath the post, on the post, and then work my way around the circle. And here you can be as liberal as you want with the glue or conservative as you want. But yeah, the amount of glue you can put on here is up to you. You can put as much and as little as you want. So with me, I'm kind of keeping the same design. That center part where it's straight there. Put it on. Wiggle it back and forth. Get the glue set so it's flat. I'll kind of stick. And I'll turn it slightly. And I'll look at it. Check everything straight, flat. Make sure everything's set. So that's that portion of it. Two of those done. Put the glue away, just like so. I'm going to use it again shortly. Make sure your scrap is put out of the way because you don't want to get out the next part. Make sure everything's clean. So the part I'm using for the backing is buckskin split. You can use a different variety of things such as vinyl. These have different pieces here. Vinyl, you can use random cloths. There's different things you'll use. Chamois cloth, which is, I have some here. White, lighter piece. It's goat skin, basically. That's what chamois is. It's goat skin. But I use buckskin split, not the actual buckskin. This is the top portion of buckskin before they get it to its final size for actual So there's actual the buckskin itself. So you can see there's that nice smooth side where it's nice and the grain's holding together real nice. And here's it's nice and thick even. So this is the top part of it here. So buckskin comes in various widths and thicknesses, and they shave it down to get a last final size. And this is the top portion of it. So it's not as heavy as this. Actually, this is heavier than that. And yeah, it's easy material to work through and beat through because you're not beating through that. That's a hard part to beat through. So anyways, this part here, I put the part I'm using up and put this on top. And I get my X-Acto knife and I kind of figure out where I want to make my little cut for the hinge part of it. My hands are very coarse. So here, and I make a little cut, just about, what is that, 1/4 inch. And I'll slide that through, like so. And then for that little top, I normally just flip it over like this, run a mark on the side of it here and here, so I know where to cut the post, or cut the thing. So you can see the 2 little black dots there. And I'll get my scissor, get this out of the way, and make a little nick in it. So just like that. And it puts it exactly where I need it. These are all excess material in it. So I'll do that to both sides, show you again. I do have several pieces that I get. I do get this from Crazy Crow. I know you guys are gonna ask about it. Crazy Crow company trading. I'll leave the link in below. But if you just look up buckskin split, you'll bring up the different varieties or different kinds you can get, different colors. Like I said, it's a little cut. Make sure when you're doing this too that the slit is lined up with your post. And that if you have it off, then you're gonna have a piece like that where it's not lined up. It's gonna be odd. But make sure it's lined up straight. Everything's flat. Fold. Like I said, mark the 2 sides. Just enough to lift it up. You know where to roughly put your little nick in the piece. And it goes over just like that. And they should be both set. So once you get that part done, you want to go back with your glue again. Make sure you have your stuff's moved out of the way and have a nice clear area and space. Other than that, you're gonna get your glue all over. So I'm gonna bring back in my little drip plate thingy where the glue can ooze out onto it and not get on my desk anywhere. I can just throw that away after. After. My lisp. I don't know. I don't like speaking, so excuse my speech. So with this, I'm just kind of putting the glue. Oop, this is one I had for a while. So putting the glue where it needs to be. I think this one's trying out on me. No. Hold on. Let me do some witchcraftry. Okay, it's got squeezed a little harder. There we go. So I put enough here to glue it. I'm not putting it close to the hinge part just because I don't want the glue to be pushing out and coming through that part here. It does happen, and it's kind of, once it gets on the buckskin, it's no bueno. But anyways, I'm kind of pushing and smoothing it out with my thumb, moving the glue around so I don't want big globs on it underneath it. And then I'll do the top portion next. So I'll do the same thing, kind of staying away from the parts where they're open. Trying to keep my glue as thin as possible and not have too much places where there's just a bunch of globs. So I'll do the same thing, just push it, work it in, make sure it's flat, then flatten it out. Feeling around, make sure there's no high spots or places. At this point, you can kind of finesse your buckskin around. And this is the part where I use my X-Acto knife, so you can see there's a little gap there where I can push it up and push it down and kind of work the buckskin into place where you don't really see too much of a gap in the cut, especially on the top too. Push it down around, and then I can push the buckskin closer, so then it doesn't seem like there's much of a gap. Well, I'll flatten it out and leave it. Once it's flattened and I like the way it looks, then I'll leave it alone for a few minutes so then it sets up and doesn't want to move. Normally about 10 minutes or so, but I kind of get impatient. So same thing, I do the half bottom, put it down. This is the fast version. I only want to have 2 hands for this. And then, oops, I put it in the wrong spot. So I got glue on my cutting mat. Then once you're done with the glue, just cover it back up and move it off to the side. So put it back through. Flatten. Pull all the wrinkles out of it, make sure it's flat. And then start moving the buckskin around, or whatever material you have. Flatten, push them together. And once I'm happy with it, then I'll leave it off to the side. And I can go through and clean up my mess. Get rid of stuff that I don't necessarily need on my desk right now. Like this mat. So with that one's still gluing, that one's set up. Now I'm gonna go around and trim the excess off so I can get ready for the next section. I mean, you can go through, get tighter with your buckskin or your backing, but I always leave excess because I use it to wipe off and clean a lot of stuff I do. So there it is, the trim. That one's ready to be used to have its edging put on. So just take your time here, and I cut an angle like that to it. So I can just slowly work my way around. I do have a smaller scissors later on. When I'm doing the edging, I need to trim more of the buckskin off because it's just a rough cut just to get it trimmed for now. Some parts like so do stick out a little bit longer. So this is my smaller scissors by Singer. You can see. Then I'll go through and I'll trim around as I'm going around doing the edging to cut off any parts are, like I said, excess. But anyways, that's that, and these are ready for the next part, the edging, which is the last final step for this. And that went through pretty fast, and it still took me like 30 minutes to do that. Anyways, next part's the last part of the series, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully I'm explaining things enough for you guys. If you guys do I do miss something, or you guys want something else to explain, I'll try to explain that in another video. But thank you guys for watching, and hope you guys enjoyed that. Bye.